Marla Grayson is a character from a film called I Care a Lot. The film was written and directed by Jay Blakeson and released in the USA in February 2021. It stars Rosamund Pike as the lead and Peter Dinklage as the antagonist. When I first saw this film advertised, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty excited. I loved watching Rosamund Pike in Gone Girl. Her performance was so dark and hypnotic. The film came on after I just finished watching something else. A film, I will add, I didn't even want or intend to watch. I found myself unable to move for the whole runtime. That need to know what was going to happen kept me glued to my seat. Peter Dinklage was downright amazing in the early seasons of Game of Thrones. The scene, I've been on trial my entire life, is still one of my favourite moments from the show.
I'm guilty of being a dwarf.
You're not on trial for being a dwarf.
I've been on trial for that my entire life.
But a film which seemed to have every advantage handed to it, despite its beautiful colour palette, visuals and decent music, left a bitter taste in my mouth.
Just try a little taste.
That still hasn't left, even after the few months or so I've been processing it. For anyone that isn't aware or hasn't seen the film, I'm about to spoil it, but please don't worry, this film is not worth watching. I'm about to save you 2 hours of your life, trust me. So, the brief plot of the film is that Marla Grayson works as a guardian for elderly people who can't look after themselves, or that is what she makes the judge and the state believe about these people, so she can make money by selling their assets. At the start of the film, she stops a man from seeing his mother so she can keep running her scheme. Marla uses a doctor to back up what she is saying and keep her business looking legitimate. Anyway, she picks the wrong woman who turns out to be the mother of an ex-Russian mafia boss. They get into an argument which leads to a gunfight in a care home, attempted murder twice, losing a tooth, drugging a person and leaving them in the woods to be found, then being found in the woods and reported as a John Doe, and then becoming their legal guardian, only to then decide that we would be better as friends and just start a company together and make millions off the misery of others, to only be killed by the same son that you dismissed at the start of the film. It's a real wild ride. I have a lot of issues with this film. One being Marla Grayson's character winning a Golden Globe. Like, are you kidding me? This film was incredibly cast, but they were wasted at best. One of the main reasons I feel that this film failed was its complete lack of sympathetic characters. Like, who am I rooting for? Who does this film want me to care about? The lead, who is a monster at best, whose only motivation is money. There are vague nods to a darker past we are given as an audience, but nothing grounded or concrete that we can connect with.
You know how many times I've been threatened by a man? Thousands. You know how many of them ever came to anything? 2.
That's your mother, isn't it? After I destroy you, I will destroy her.
Go ahead, I don't give a shit about that fucking sociopath.
Okay, so maybe we're meant to care about Roman, who is an ex-mob boss who loves his mother and throwing food at walls for some reason. He does this on like 3 separate occasions. I counted. Again, why am I meant to care? Maybe it's Jennifer. She has the hardest time throughout the film, but apart from that, there's nothing about her that the audience knows. And don't even get me started on the girlfriend character, whose name I refuse to learn. She is a complete waste of a character. She does nothing for the plot. I think you could take her out of the whole film and everything would stay the same. You should not be able to take out a character as important as the lead's significant other and there be no consequences to the plot. Her whole character was basically pretty Google. She spent her runtime just telling us information when she was asked to give it.
Runs into a care home. They're the Russian mafia, Marla. Ex-wife Peterson. Born April 15th, 1949. Oh, she doesn't live here anymore.
Just a little side note for anyone out there who is wondering how to make sympathetic characters. I broke it down in a lot of detail in my last video, so feel free to check that out once you've finished this video, obviously.
Obviously.
There is probably a small group of people that might defend this film. They could argue that Marla Grayson is an anti-hero, but I find myself unable to buy that particular argument. I recently watched a video by Abby Emmons where she discussed anti-heroes. I found some of the points she made in this video very interesting. She tells us that anti-heroes are more realistic. Their flaws help to build more of an internal conflict that we, the viewer, find so compelling. They act out of jealousy, greed, and even selfishness, which most people can relate to. Yes, we all love stories about people who have pure and good intentions trying their best in a dark world, but if we're being honest, we see more of ourselves in the anti-hero. Even though Marla does act out of selfishness, I find myself unable to root for her because the writer has given me nothing to grab onto and say, this is the reason why I should care. In Abby's video, Abby discusses her favourite type of arc for an anti-hero. She prefers a positive arc. I find myself agreeing with her. In general, I just feel they're more interesting stories. So if we look at the story of Marla Grayson, we find that she has a flat arc. I find myself hard-pressed to see what changes she goes through. Marla is the same person who started the story. You could say she got worse by the end, but I think if she had been given these opportunities at the start of the story, she would have acted in the same way. All the story did was allow Marla to do more terrible things on a grander scale. For anyone that doesn't know, there are 3 main character arcs, and you can find thousands of videos on YouTube talking about character arcs, so I'm only going to break them down briefly here. Positive character arcs are characters like Scrooge, Prince Zuko, Elizabeth Bennet. They overcome internal or external obstacles to become a better person. Positive character arcs can be broken down into 3 simple parts. The goal, what the character wants. The lie, which is a misconception they have about themselves or the world that prevents them from achieving their goal. The truth is what they need to learn and acknowledge in order to become a better person and achieve their goal or something better by the end of their arc. Basically, they need to change in some way for the better by the end of the arc. Negative character arcs have the same elements, but they just work a little bit differently. The goal is what the character wants. That part's the same. The lie is the belief that pursuing the goal will lead them to a positive outcome. The truth, their goal is self-destructive. With a negative character arc, they are always moving away from the truth, not closer to it. For example, Walter White from Breaking Bad, Lady Macbeth, and The Great Gatsby, just to name a few. And flat arcs are where the character stays the same, no growth, no truth, no lie. This is one of the main downfalls of Marla's character, in my opinion. That does not mean that flat arcs are always bad, they just work better for detective novels, where the character doesn't need to change. You could read the books out of order, it's more about solving that particular case. Now, let me start by saying that diversity is important in TV, film, and books. I feel that people seeing themselves represented can be super impactful for self-belief and many other things. Now I have my disclaimer out of the way, I feel the fact that Marla was a lesbian was completely tacked on last minute, and it makes it feel, in my opinion, cheap. Like, they wrote this film and then somebody pointed out Marla was completely awful. So they thought, let's make her gay. Rather than make Marla into an interesting person with layers and traumas, flaws and ideas about the world, some right, some wrong. A character that the LGBTQ+ community could connect with, instead of what they got, some boss bitch, which is a character archetype I'm starting to hate at the minute in TV, film and novels. This I'm a badass that always wins, like boo, I'm bored. Personally, maybe I'm a psychopath, I want to see the character suffer, change, grow and learn. This water off a duck's back to every problem that comes my way is just dull, and I'm finding it increasingly hard to connect with. There is an interesting video about strong female characters in cinema that I think you should give a look. In this video there are some bits I agree with, some bits I disagree with, but her argument that links strong female characters to toxic masculinity is a very interesting one that I think people should check out. Okay, I've done a lot of moaning, it's time to put my money where my mouth is and tell you how I would have done this film, story-wise. I'm going to keep the cast the same and the general ideas. I just want to show you how I would have written it. Number one, we scrapped the speech at the start of the film about being a lioness. It's terrible. Having a speech at the start of any story is a big no-no. There are a few rare exceptions where it works, but unless you have an amazing idea, there is no need to put a speech at the start of your story, trust me. We're going to keep the scene where the son wants to see his mother but can't, but this time I want to make him a little bit drunk. We have the courtroom scene play out, mostly the same, but have Marla call the son unsafe and not responsible. For this version of the film, I want to use the girlfriend character to be Marla's moral aim. You know, the type of person we meet and they are just good, maybe even a little naive, but show that Marla wants to be more like her. After the events of the courtroom, have Marla's girlfriend say, "You did good, but do we need to keep them apart?" Marla feeling maybe it was a step too far, and then the son comes over. Let's have him be a little bit drunk and call her a bitch. A memory of being called a bitch when she was younger flashes in her head. We'll keep the spit and keep the man-hating speech. He's going to be confused by this. He will respond, "No, it's because you're holding my mother, you dumb bitch." Every time he says bitch, you can see Marla getting madder and madder to the point that the audience thinks she might even lose control. Her girlfriend pulls her into the car as they drive away. The man is still super angry, raging in the street. The two women have a heart-to-heart about their childhood and Marla's abusive father and mother who pretended like none of it was happening. They were very poor. So as the viewer, we can see why she is immediately distrustful of men, and later on in the story why she would do anything not to be poor again. She equates having money to being safe. Money is the power to leave if everything gets too bad. We will keep the inciting incident the same, where one of Marla's clients dies. But this time, Marla has debts that she isn't telling anybody about. Show the viewer the fear of not having money drives her to do stupid things, getting herself into debt so she can keep up with a lifestyle that makes her feel safe. The doctor calls her. The last job they did was kind of dodgy. The doctor wants to do something similar again. She thinks she's found someone new. Marla's not so sure, but does it after thinking about how much money she owes. My version of the story is now going to stay the same for a little bit, apart from the girlfriend working with her. We're going to change that so that she has a different job. And we're going to cut out all of Roman's parts. Instead, we're going to use this time to build up an image that Marla once was trying to be a good person, but she needs money. There's a toxic state of the care work environment, and trying to keep her girlfriend out of this web of lies that gets deeper and deeper. Marla will take over Jennifer's house and put her in the care home. We will keep the threat of Roman looming overhead, but Marla's unwillingness to face the problem because she wants to keep hold of the money. We will have it so that we don't see Roman until the first time they met in the original film. Let's build up. Who is this woman? Who is her son? Let's have some mystery. We will keep the meeting with the lawyer, but have it go bad because Marla's stressed and he is smug and just reminds her of every man that's ever put her down. Have Marla's whole world falling apart around her as she tries desperately to keep up the pretense that everything is okay. We're going to cut the gunfight in the care home because it was done, but keep in the murder of the doctor. Use this as the catalyst for Marla to think that she needs to get away and she needs to be truthful. As Marla is doing this and going back to her girlfriend to tell her everything, she is kidnapped. We have Marla wake up and almost laugh at Roman. Like, this is who's doing all this? Roman could even say, people have been doing that my whole life, underestimating me, and now they're all dead. She will see that they're kind of the same. People have always put her down for being a woman, not smart enough, not strong enough, just not being enough. A moment of guilt as she thinks, I judged him as everyone has always judged me. We'll have him kill her, or think that's what he's done. Then we will watch the story from Roman's point of view. Working on the people trafficking, we'll have him kill Marla's girlfriend. We'll have a couple of scenes where he's working hard to get his mother back, almost making the audience conflicted with who they actually care about. We humanize Roman for this part of the film. And then we bring it back to Marla. And then Marla takes him like she did in the original film. He'll be drugged, taken to the woods, and wake up to see Marla as his guardian. She will explain how she got out of the car, found her girlfriend, and now has nothing left to do but make his life a living hell. The death of the girlfriend is the death of any morality in Marla. She is cold and hell-bent on revenge. He says, I know about the money. What are you gonna do? Have no money and no girlfriend? Sure thing, you can kill me. Some people will even thank you for it. But once I'm dead, Marla, what are you gonna do? I definitely will not bring her back. But if you work with me, I'll make you rich. I want to keep the part where he sees the value in her scheme. I want her to have a moment of she can't do this, and then the remembering of all the money she owes and all the people that want to make her life a misery. And if she could just do this for long enough, she could make money, and the money will keep her safe. After losing everything else, she can't lose money as well. She can't go back to being poor, scared, and alone. She agrees to work with him, but then I want the film to end the same. She starts making millions. That son who she'd seen at the start and judged comes to kill her, but this time she will die alone, face to the sky, smiling, knowing she will be with her girlfriend again.